Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Andy's Crypto Talk. Up in the house tonight, we are gonna be talking some fresh Citadail. I don't know what I just said. We're gonna be talking about Citadail tonight and all of this amazing, amazing information that's just become relevant to the community. So let me just move my Telegram because I don't want to make. I want to make sure that none of this spam shows up in your guys' face. Now I did post some links to the Telegram, and I just want to bring those up real quick because as we can see here, we had the interview on Mario Nawfal. Let me play this for you real quick. Just gonna pause this music.
We partnered with Cast for a Citadel debit card that will, if you guys want a referral code for users, there'll be a slight discount, and it'll be something that the community can use, because I know a lot of people don't have access to normal financial instruments such as a debit card to order things online. Even though I prefer to use Griffain to do as much as possible, we're going to partner with them for that, and we've got a few more things up our sleeve that we'll be announcing shortly.
More things up the sleeve they're announcing shortly. You heard it here first, folks. Another one was this clip. I'm not sure. I forget who this was, but there was Marinade, and there was like multiple big Solana devs.
D/10, I see you're up here, so feel free to unmute and jump in with a question.
Hey, thank you for having me up. I was listening to what you were saying earlier about main institutional investors getting interested and involved, and I work on Wall Street. I got pulled into the project that Tony was working on with Griffain, and I can tell you that we're applying some of the theories behind it to that. And the main question we get asked about is staking. So I caught this at the top of X and started listening, and I'd love to explore if there's some possibilities that we can either make some introductions for you or possibly include it with what we're working on, because it is the main thing that people in our my real world job and friends and network ask is how can we do something like this, because they're used to bonds and ETFs and where you just park your money and let it grow. And I think if there's some crossover between the two, between uh, DeFi and traditional finance, there'll be a lot more willingness to accept a bit higher risk on Wall Street side. And I think that having degens, if you said, is it compatible to have that with institutional investors, them knowing that they're coming in with good intentions, that we'll be able to coexist in this space. Because right now there's a lot of people that are getting worried that so much of supply of these larger cap coins are being bought up by institutions. So if there's any introductions that I can make and kind of ease that transition from some of these people that are a little bit leery, I would love to be able to do that and facilitate that for you guys. And I appreciate you guys having me up, because this has been a huge question that's being kicked around by some very big people that invested in my project and are looking to invest in others.
Awesome. No, I love to hear that. I think it just speaks once more to this notion of, the institutions are here. We have, someone named D/Jen up here on stage, representing the institutions in a way in this spaces. And so it's always great to see that these sort of serendipitous interactions come about, and really appreciate the offer on that. So why don't we follow up over DM, and I can both get you in front of the Marinade team. I'm sure they would really appreciate that, as well as some of the other teams in our cohort who we'll have up here in the subsequent weeks, who are also targeting financial institutions. Generally speaking, I spoke about this last week as well, but 100% of the companies in our cohort are targeting real case use cases of adoption. How do we drive real world adoption of Solana with these
Real
products and services that we're
world
building?
adoption.
And there is a very strong focus on the institutional lens as well, and it goes back to.
So I'm going to just pause it there because I think we get the gist, guys, don't we? This is real world utility. This is real world use case to the institutions and big money. Like you heard Dejan say, these big money players are looking for a place to park their money and to feel like it just grows, right? Now, let me just pop the music back on it. Let's chat a little bit about what's been happening in Citadail and what we can kind of expect, I think, in the next weeks to months. So first off, taking a look at the charts here, let's pop it out to the daily and just kind of look at what we've gone through, because it's been quite a ride. If you've been with me here, we've been covering it since the beginning, and we rode this massive parabolic move up to the 54 regions, and yeah, so, and then we did correct down, and now we can see this this is a rounded bottom that we look for forming. Now, there were sort of tremors throughout the entire crypto markets. I mean, we can look at Solana, for example, on our normal stream charts that we're following. And we can see this was a extended downfall, big dip that we noticed here. The crazy thing about it is, look at exactly where it, and this is relevant to Citadail, right? Because the token Citadail is partnered to Solana, right? So you can see here pooled Solana and pooled Citadail. That means that if Solana's value goes up, then it's always an equal half of Citadail to Solana, and the Solana value in the pool of Solana will go up, and it will also balance out and increase the value of Citadail in the pool going up. Okay, guys, so just remember this, and you can actually see some similarities. Let's actually drop down to the 4-hour chart so we can kind of see what I'm talking about here, guys, okay? And now, on my last go live, I did talk about this box range and this other smaller box range. So if you do want to check that out, go check that video out. It's also a video where I announce a giveaway that I'm doing. It's a $50 giveaway. All you got to do is sign up to MEXC. You can see it in the description. And then once you've signed up, deposit. I think I said $40. I think it was $40. I said you have to deposit $40 and make one trade. That's all you got to do. I don't even care if you take the money out of there right away after. So it's just, doing a giveaway. So this box range that we talked about on that live stream, I was saying that, this was our potential place that it did come down to come underneath, and then it's now going to act as sort of a box range that we want to pay attention to breaking out of, and we can see it's actually respected it quite nicely. So yeah, I mean, looking at this downward movement that happened from, we can see here, 8th of January and then we can see this on the 4 hour. Where are we? Right about here. So 8th of January, we actually had, you know, a big dip on Solana as well, where Solana did recover. Now, this is the time in this period here, we saw Trump come out. So between the 13th and the 19th, we saw that Trump coin come out, and that extracted a lot of liquidity. So 13th to the 19th, right? So like we were actually starting to correct with Solana, and then the Trump coin came out, and that's where this big leg down from about 30 mil down to 13 mil happened. Then the next day we had Melania coin, and it took us down to about 7 mil, right? So that was, I would say, this major leg down. That was our first major leg down. And I did also bring this up, you know, with the community, and I think I was talking about it on stream as well, that this is kind of what we saw play out, that we saw this entire psychology of a market cycle cheat sheet start to play out. Now, I think I was a little early at calling that bottom, but we can see clearly now, you know, we formed this large leg down, then the retest, which is a lower low, and then another up, and now a sideways long, sideways down. This is where I believe we're just turning around out of depression into this disbelief, right? So now we look for sort of the beginnings of a new cycle to take place to push us up into this sort of next range that I was talking about. That's kind of our next push for Citadel. So yeah, moving through disbelief into hope. That's kind of what we are looking at on the chart here. It could happen much sooner than I think people anticipate, just because of the ability of a small liquidity pool like Citadel has to move up, right? Like these are small liquidity pools. They can move up quite significantly faster than we would anticipate. Now, that having been said, we could continue to see a little bit, as you can see here, as it moves up, it then has a little bit of a sideways, excuse me, and we can see this W, right? This W gets created, and then it just sort of grinds up. So that's kind of what I would look to see play out. I mean, we drew this out. I think I erased all of the drawings, but we drew it out about going up there, and it was looking a lot like this Griffain. This is like, I drew this out, and you can see it's just followed it quite nicely, right? So it's you know, it's making its way up into this sort of range, and now it just has to push through, I think, this sort of like the 270 range for Griffain, and it's going to move up, you know, easily to 300, probably move right back up into the 400s quickly. That's not a very big move even for something like Griffain, because yeah, like 7 mil liquidity pool, that's not huge, right? Some big whales start coming in here, you're going to see this thing move up exponentially faster. And this was also predicated off the winter mute. This is how I drew this, right? Like I used this drawing to kind of project what's going to happen next for Griffain, right? So we know the projects are related. You know, we know Griffain has Wintermute as an MM. We can see, you know, we've seen that Wintermute pattern that's typically played out on the charts. And then yeah, I think we're seeing that happen on different structures. What's this one on a 1 hour? So let's go to the 1 hour just to see what it looks like in comparison to Griffain. Obviously, like our downfall, it looks more sort of extravagant, and I think it's in part because we had this extremely parabolic move up that it corrected back very hard as well. So now that we've had all this time to sort of reassimilate our holder base in this sideways action, there's some constructive patterning happening and some major bullish news all conglomerating in a nice rebound. So now we're seeing the rebound here, and again, I would look to push up out of this 7 to 7.75 mil range. I think I was talking about this, in the group chat today at some point, but it's more than likely that we're going to continue on this trend. It looks like, kind of bull flag, but an upward structured bull flags. And if you guys have ever watched any of my videos before, these are super bullish, right? Like these upward structured bull flags can get so insanely powerful when they move out of them, and we've seen that many times before. So yeah, I mean, just keep an eye on it. I would say it's like a different version of this sort of flagging that was happening here, even though this was a little bit different, right? This was more like a megaphone pattern, and it had a fake out, right? Like fake out megaphone pattern. I think you could have watched that, as a potential. Like, look at that line. Look at the work that line's doing. It's holding this whole thing up. So like that would have been a really good sort of marker to be like, yeah, maybe this is the time to take some, take leave and just wait until it turns around. But that having been said, there's lots of different structures that you can watch on different time frames that will kind of make sense, right? Like even this one. Look at how interesting that line is. So we see that interaction here with that line is just... there's a lot of good things you can do with these lines. But long story short is we want to see these lines get broken in one way or the other. So that's what I was really trying to show you there, is that we have this major downtrend happening, this downtrend forming. And something I'll bring in here is these Bollinger Bands, because I talked about the Bollinger Bands, and I know a lot of the community was asking questions. They even typed it into ChatGPT, and it gave like the best, most concise thing ever. So I think that's actually what I was thinking. I might bring some of that in here, get some lessons put together. Use AI to help facilitate those as well. But yeah, so we can see on Bollinger Bands, we see this kind of like, it's a bulge, and then it tightens, and then it bulges, and then it tightens. And every time we see it tighten like this, and like this, and then like this, it gets, it gets tighter and tighter. And then we know there's a volatility or volume event coming. It did the same thing similarly on the way down, but it didn't tighten as much. Like you can see, when it started tightening here, it didn't really tighten. It just kind of flattened out on top, and then it came down and it tightened again a little bit. I would say, this was probably some of the tighter Bollinger Bands we've seen coming, and it's gotten tighter and tighter as it went down. Now, it's gotten to the point where I believe it got so tight here that it was just like, okay, this is it. Big volumes coming in, and part of that factor of it starting to move up was that it was just beating down on the bottom of the Bollinger Bands for so long. You can even see that this midline is a pretty important factor when we see the trend shift. I would say, like, you could consider it that when it's underneath that midline, it's in a downtrend. And once it recovers that midline, it will be in an uptrend. Now, this is all on different time frames, right? Like, we can look at this on many different time frames. So, even on the daily, you can look at this in that time frame. You don't have a lot of data, though, so I wouldn't trust this one as much. But look at what we're seeing on the daily. The squeeze is really coming together here, right? So that means some major volatility is going to come, just like we've seen over here, where it was squeezed together very tightly. So yeah, not trusting the daily too much, because again, it's just doesn't have that much confluence. I would say, something like this is more telling, going down to the 12-hour. Again, we can see this squeeze inevitably creating a lot of potential momentum one way or the other. It doesn't necessarily have to be up, but at this point, how much further lower can you think it can go, right? Like, this project has backing by Tony P, which, you know, again, is running Griffain. Something I just seen here, and let me pull it up. Let me pull this up real quick, because I just seen this tonight and I thought this was crazy bullish. You know, we did get we got Tony P, I believe, helped get the connection to that Mario Nawfal interview. So, and if we look here, let me see here, come on. If we look on Real Vision, now Whirlpool is like a big part of this space, right? And a lot of chads, like I would say some big funded people, are inside of this, and this is locked to his Crypto Pro, so it costs like a lot of money to get access to this. And you can see that Tony P just did an interview on there. There's a Forbes interview releasing with Tony P, and he's been talking about Citadel in every one of his interviews. So you bet your ass that slowly but surely people are trickling in from the Poppy, Griffain, right? Now, same sort of chart on Griffain. This one's actually creating that megaphone pattern, which, you know, I think this is eventually going to recover to the upside. So kind of watching out for that. The same way I believe this is looking to recover up to the upside. Let's get down to the 1 hour. Look at how tight those bands squeezed together before it shot up, right? So we always see volatility as they squeeze together. Look at this pinch, the pinch of volatility, and it pumped pretty good, 8 to 10 mil, but then it was like the sellers weren't exhausted yet, so there was still further downside, a pinch, further downside. You know, we saw a lot of further downside with this token, and I think it got oversold. But that having been said, there's a lot of big things coming in for Citadel. A lot of big news, again, just dropping day by day. So definitely a project to keep your eye on. Now that we've broken this massive downtrend line, I think, again, we just pay attention to the uptrend and kind of see where it goes from here. But I think, you know, something like that, you know, maybe some more volatility before we really shoot up. You know, all of this stuff is possible. That's what, yeah, 25 to 15, like big jumps like that. We saw it here. You know, it jumped up from 12 to 32, and then dipped down to 6.5. Like, that's a crazy dip, right? So we can see big dips like that, even along the way up. But yeah, so like keeping an eye on that winter mute pattern. That's kind of what I would see. Like, we're on the first leg up, bit of sideways, correct back down, W back up, right? But that's kind of closer. If you think that's the top, that's closer to like the 1/3 of the way, right? So I would just kind of take that in respect to how far we dropped. You know, 1/3 of the way back to all-time highs is a 20x right now, right? And 1/3 of the way of a 20x would be like, you know, a 6x, 7x. Yeah, because that's like 21x. So right around there. Yeah, right where we got this next box range kind of drawn out. This is a place I was saying this is kind of pay attention. And then we can also see this white line right here. That's the point of control. So if we look at the point of control from like kind of where, you know, where we came down from, the point of control of this whole downtrend is actually rebounding up to this 16 mil. And I bet if we look on the fibs, we'll see something of importance around there as well. So yeah, 15 mil to 22 mil, that's a 236382. This is an important region to overcome, and then kind of try to blast through the 0.618 at 34 mil. Once we blast through that, that's when we're going to see some real fireworks, I believe. So yeah, guys, keep an eye on Citadail. There's definitely more news dropping. I know they said they have at least one more thing this week, but I have a feeling there's going to be more than just one thing this week. So yeah, just keep an eye on this project. And again, drop a comment, like, subscribe. And if you want to get entered to win that 50 bucks, all you got to do is, again, just sign up to MEXC in the link below, deposit 40 bucks, make one trade, and you'll be entered. I don't think anyone's actually entered yet. I don't think anyone's in it, so it might be just free money for someone. 50 bucks in your hand. And we'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.